1984 that song was written. Wow. Woo! Okay, grab a seat. Grab a seat. And it's good to see some of the folks in here and a few of the Marines. Right? Okay. So first, I want to say that the prayer, the pledge, the beautiful singing, both you are just extraordinary. It's inspirational. It's spiritual. Actually, when I hear particularly those two songs, because they bring back the whole idea of who we are when you listen to the words. So another big round of applause for everybody that came up here at the beginning. Thank you guys. Okay? It's awesome. Okay. So, where are we? You know, we talk about elections and everything, and you know, this idea of America first. And I've given this a lot of thought. I've been all over this country. I just came back from, frankly, a swing through Ohio, Illinois, Nevada here recently, in fact, a day and a half ago, and now here to support Laura and her run for Congress. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about Laura here in a minute because she's just an extraordinary young lady, and we do need people like that. We need people with just incredible backbones who are willing to just step up and just fight for this country tooth and nail. Because as we've heard talking about this election, it's not just an election. This is actually the most consequential moment in U.S. history. For anybody that has any inkling of our country or any inkling of the history of this country, and frankly, anybody that has studied world history, we are in one of these periods right now in the United States of America, where if we don't get this right, there is no 2024. Okay, the big plan was 8 years of Barack Obama, 8 years of Hillary Clinton, and it would be over with. Okay? We saw that coming. We knew that was coming. And that's exactly what their plan was, to take over this country. And this goes back 40 years. Okay, this goes back 40 years, where I know that they started to really hone in on exactly what they wanted to do, which was essentially to take over all of the levers of power and to influence different institutions in this country, like the healthcare institution, like the institution of education, and like the institution of the rule of law. Okay, these are not conspiracy theories. These are not, you know, baseless. These are actually things that they had planned on doing. And when Donald Trump showed up and got it, and got in the way, in a strange way, actually, because of where we are as a nation, where he sits right now, had they been smart about it, they would have actually let him win. They would have stolen the House and the Senate, completely taken over the legislative body, and then impeached Donald Trump, and we would never see him again. Okay? So when you analyze what we're up against, and you analyze what we face, we're facing pure, unadulterated evil. Okay? And I'm not kidding. I am not. That's just, so I always, I give reasons why I do what I do, and it's principally because of my grandchildren. Because as I look at generations of young people, and Laura's in that generation below mine. And then there's another generation below that, which is really, for me, it's my grandchildren, but these babies that are out there that are looking at us today, and they're saying, they don't know what's going on, and they just trust us that something good is going to happen, that they're going to continue to have this nice life. Okay, I worked in the early days of my career with the country of Venezuela a little bit. We had some exchanges, stuff like that. That was back in the late 70s, early 80s. That country at one time was in the top 10 economies in the world. Okay, and I mean in a heartbeat, it's collapsed, and we saw tyranny take over in what amounts to be really a beautiful country. That's just an example that we all have heard about, or we've all talked about, you've read about, as we move through this historic period of time that we are in. And I use that small example because there's many others. They were at a top 10 economy. So don't think for a second that this country couldn't rapidly decline as we're seeing it being taken apart right now. I don't know whose piece of paper this is, but this is like the quilt, Okay, this is the quilt called the United States of America. And what these people are doing is they're doing this. They're just tearing apart this quilt. They're tearing apart the very fabric of our country, right? And we're at a point now where, I mean, it's that bad. It's that bad. You can't convince me otherwise when I look at all of these institutions and the kinds of things that they are doing. So America First. Okay, America First is it's not a slogan. It is not a bumper sticker. America First is a governing philosophy. It is exactly what we need in this country right now, folks, because if we don't get America first, if we don't think about our country first, it's over. And I always tell people this, that the destiny of this country, the destiny of the United States of America is going to be decided upon whatever you decide to do tonight, whatever path you choose to use after you leave this room. That will be the destiny of America. I don't care what you did in the past. I don't care who you supported. I'm talking about not like 10 years ago. I'm talking about this morning or yesterday. And I know that there's people working their tails off for Laura. And thank you for doing that. But the future of this country across the fabric, in order to put this quilt back together, is going to be decided upon whatever path you as an individual decide to take. Whatever path you decide you're going to fight for, whether it's the path of community, the path of church, the path of family, the path of campaigning, the path of getting involved at the local level. Thank God that this country was created the way it was. Okay? The founders, they started, give me a little bit of water. I'm on a roll. Yeah, because I'm talking all the time, but you know, honest to God, I never even think about. I wonder when I come to these things, what am I going to say? You know, and I come up to the mic and let it flow, right? So I was saying that thank God that our founders, they designed this beautiful experiment in democracy from the bottom up, not from the top down. They didn't go and meet for the better part of a couple of decades, and definitely a little over a decade, and say, we're going to start with the federal government, and we're going to construct it like this, and we're going to give them all these kind of things at the top. No. Everybody that came from the 13 colonies that met over and over and over, and as they met in each of the colonies, they talked about the people. What is it that the people need? So you know, and I kind of carry this around sometimes when I was reading, because I wanted to, as we were talking about the 10th Amendment, that's the Constitution right there. It takes anybody about maybe an hour to read the darn thing. You know, it takes you about 3 minutes to read the Declaration of Independence. I mean, so they started with "we the people." Okay, and this beautiful phrase that they fought over, they struggled over about coming up with it, exactly what it was going to say. And they didn't, somebody didn't dream it up one long weekend. And that phrase is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And and I know this because of reading the Federalist Papers, they did not argue about the first word, because everything else flows from life. Right? Everything else flows from life. And look at what we've done in this country. Okay, now so let's see what happens with this Supreme Court and this potential Roe v. Wade decision. Because we're like a pagan society. We're like a pagan society in this country, with the just killing children to the tune of, 70 million, 77 million. So we have to start thinking about what it is that we are going to be as a nation. America First is a governing philosophy about who we are as a country, and it's we the people. And there are statements that say if we don't like the government, we the people should throw them out. Our form of government is a republic. Okay, we're not a democracy. We are a republic. We are an experiment in democracy. But we are a republic. which means we get out and we vote for people like Laura Loomer, and we expect her to get in there and light somebody's rear end on fire, right? That's what we want. We want somebody who is representing us. Because then what the founders did, they then went to the next level, and that's called states' rights. Okay, states' rights. The reason why Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, and this Supreme Court is actually going to come back to this decision is because of two cases. I'm using this to talk about the example of the power that we have in this country. Okay, because of two cases, one out of Texas and one out of Mississippi, and the Supreme Court, the justices decided to combine the two, which made sense. And so now they're going to talk about, and they're going to come up with a decision here. It's going to be a very, very powerful earthquake-like decision. But really the bigger strategic issue is exactly what the founders decided when they ratified the Constitution, and they gave us this thing called states' rights. Okay, states' rights. Okay, if states didn't have rights, we wouldn't be sitting in this room tonight, folks. We wouldn't be. Believe me, this administration they are trying to take every single thing by edict. They're trying to rip this beautiful fabric, this beautiful quilt of America apart because they don't like this country. They don't like America. They don't like what we represent. They don't like what we represent. So states' rights. States' rights when it comes to this issue that I'm highlighting, but also states' rights when it comes to things like immigration. Right? Immigration. I mean, if you can get into the weeds and the details of what it is, but essentially, one of the big powers of the federal government is naturalization. Naturalizing any naturalized citizens in here. Anybody? Yeah, beautiful. I mean, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, the naturalized citizens of this country, they understand more than we understand who are born here. Because they probably came from some country that was under tyranny, that had the yoke of tyranny around their neck. And I've served on 6 continents. I've seen the most grave levels of corruption and just horrible, horrible things. And I never thought that I would return to my own country and find the levels of corruption, although you always know that, well, yeah, there's a little bit of corruption everywhere, and there's, in some cases the rule of law breaks down, but you didn't think it was this bad. I've known it was this bad. I've known it was this bad for a couple of decades. And because I've met these people, okay? I've testified to many of them. And you start to get to know them. And you're like, what is your governing philosophy? So states' rights is a huge, huge issue. I mean, we've seen the governor of this state leverage states' rights. Now, I have other issues with him because there's other little nitnoid things because of being, maybe it's my military background, but it's attention to detail. Attention to detail on every single thing. The ability to juggle a lot of balls and a lot of things in the air at the same time is the mark of a great leader. And I watched with Donald Trump when he came in and made the decision. We were talking about him today with coming up here about staying at the Holiday Inn Expresses, right? Holiday Inn. We traveled around in 2016. We'd stay at the Holiday Inn Express. Why? Because he was using his own money to run for office. He didn't accept a dime from the Republican Party. Okay? He was his own grassroots movement. And these kinds of elections, your election, I'm pointing at Laura right now. She knows this. It has already been highlighted. These grassroots, this is exactly how we must take this country back. Okay? It's we the people. It's whatever path you decide that you're going to go on. Some of you will because most Americans, human behavior sometimes is like when you leave, you come to these, you go, yay, rah, rah, cheer, you leave, and you go home, and you go, I don't know what I'm going to do. You start wringing your hands. Okay? We have to be fearless right now. We have to be fearless as Americans. Courage, people always go, courage is contagious. Courage is a decision. Okay, courage is not something that you're born with. It's not something that is that is just given to you. It is a decision. And I can tell you, on the battlefield, the most courageous people are always the least of the group. They're the ones that you would least expect that are the most courageous. And you look to your left or your right and you go, holy crap. Where did that come from? Right? And that's what we need right now. But we don't just need it from Laura Loomer. We need it from every single red-blooded American who believes in this country. Okay? So however you decide, I've beaten up a lot of these things. However you decide, whether it's reaching into your pocket and writing a check, right? Because she needs it. Giving a couple of bucks, right? That matters. That matters because when we look at, and Roger knows this, these guys know this, but definitely Roger. Roger and I have talked about this a lot. What the machinery is doing, the Republican machinery, right? I tell people, where's the live stream? Is it right there? I want to make sure they see me or they hear me. Yeah. So I always tell people, you know what? Don't give to a party anymore. Give to a person. And they hate that. They hate that. I get on these mailers purposely because I want to know what they're scheming. So I'm on the Democratic mailer, I'm on the Republican mailer, and I use it as, I'm an intel guy, right? My background is primarily intelligence. I use it to collect intelligence, right? I use it to find out what's their message, both parties, okay? Because we don't need necessarily to say Republican or Democrat or anything. Right now, we are in a knife fight for this country. And I don't care what party you're in, because I know that there's a lot of people, on this side, right, that are looking and going, man, I didn't vote for that. I say the new mask that they're putting on us, right, the COVID mask, the new mask, they issue it at the gas station, and it goes like this. Right? Because you don't want to see, by the end of this summer, folks, the average price of a gallon of gas will probably be around $6. Okay? By the end of this summer, maybe sooner. And so when we talk about things like Afghanistan, we talk about this illegal invasion going on our border right now. We're talking over 3 million people in just the past year from 152 countries. Incredible levels of just destruction. When we talk about the rise of fentanyl on the streets of our country, when we talk about the rise of crime, when we talk about things like defunding the police, all of these incredibly, these things that you just say, how stupid can these people be? They are not stupid. They are not incompetent. This is intentional. Okay? Where's the live stream? Is it here and there? Yeah, this is intentional. And so the Republicans in this country, they have got to get off their rear ends, those that are currently in office, because we're about to knock one out here. Okay, we're going to knock one out, whatever. Yeah. But this is intentional. Do not think for a second that what we have witnessed, don't think for a second that it's incompetence. It's not incompetent. These people are very smart. They were so smart, they had a masterful strategy to steal the 2020 election. And that's not a baseless conspiracy theory. It's not. There's just such an abundance of incredible levels of evidence, and yet we as the American people, we struggle because what do we want? We want things to be fought fair and square. We want things at this point in time to be fought in the courts. We want the rule of law to kick in. We want accountability where it should be had. That's what we want. Okay? And maybe we don't get that. So what we have to do is we have to overwhelm them. In the military, we have a couple of principles. One is mass and one is concentration of combat power, right? And when we mass, like for the masses, we want to mass against these polling locations, these voting locations, these precincts. We want to get the vote out. We want to get people to get out there and vote. We want to overwhelm on the primaries. Okay? And then concentration is you concentrate on exactly, to sort of stretch the metaphor, but you want to concentrate on picking the right people. And I'm standing here, I'm here today, and I'm all over the place, but I'm here tonight in this beautiful location to basically say to you physically that I totally, wholeheartedly, and strongly endorse Laura Loomer to be the next House of Representatives from District 11. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna invite Laura up and come on up. Actually, come on up. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And she's got sound. She's got music and everything. Look, honest to God, I do this with audiences because I'm sort of beyond my nonsense stage of my life. Okay. And I am not asking people to get involved. I'm not telling you because you do what you want to do. I'm pleading. I mean, I'm at a place because I will tell you, this isn't like any other election. This is an election that, I'm watching everything. I'm keeping an eye on everything. This is the most consequential moment in U.S. history. This is unlike any other time that we have been in. So when we have people like Laura Loomer, you know how I first came into her world, or certainly found out about her, was when she was chained to a door. You know? I mean, was that Facebook or Twitter? Yeah, it was Twitter. And we're all banned from Twitter. I actually snuck back on, and as soon as they found, this is recently, so as soon as I snuck back on under another kind of a name, but I put my picture out there and said who I was, they banned me 24 hours. I was banned the day that Donald Trump was banned, and then they banned me the other day. These suckers.
They banned us from Chase.
Yeah, so, and Chase Bank, Bank of America, Citibank, I've been banned from them all. So, anyway, Laura Loomer is exactly what we need in Congress, and frankly, is exactly the type of just courageous, incredibly intellectual, tough, savvy woman that we need in Congress. And I am so proud that she has made these decisions that she has made. She needs your help, though. So thank you for being here tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome Laura Loomer, next Congressman, District 11.